This is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe. And this is where we talk about them UFOs, aliens, and all things weird.
Yeah, 50 episodes.
50. Number 50.
Dude.
In the books, man. I'm excited about this one for sure because we've got a very special guest with us, man. I know I say that, all the time when we have a guest with us.
Very special.
But this one's specifically special. Mr. Eric Mitchell. Say what's up, man. How you doing today?
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're good, man. We're good.
Real good.
We're just excited to be on number 50. And I know it was short notice, dude. I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad you can make it on with us today.
No, I think we just pissed off maybe 200 or 300 radio shows because I've been telling everybody I quit doing radio. So, there's a lot of people mad at you right now.
Oh, that's all right, man. I'm sure there's a lot of people mad at us most of the time anyways.
Most of the time.
Yeah, but when you guys, it's like, well, hell yeah, I'll definitely get on the show with you guys. So.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, man. It's funny because me and Ben always say, for the really hardcore UFO people, a lot of the researchers and stuff in the field, they probably hate our guts.
Yeah,
but,
there's probably a few of them out there.
It's like we're for the regular folk, we just like to have fun, man, and we're it's cool because we're learning, and that's the funnest part is because there's so many new people that are getting into this whole thing that it's cool because they get to kind of learn along with us, and that's kind of the whole point of it. So it's awesome to when we have our guests, and people like you and stuff come on, so you guys get to teach us stuff all the time, and it just blows our minds.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Sometimes I really, I get upset, I get angry, I feel sorry for myself. It's like, I didn't choose this type of life. I didn't choose this path, and most people, foolishly choose a path thinking it's actually going to work out for them. But, nature does not have that in mind whatsoever. Yeah, I often have this saying, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But, since I'm here, I might as well do the best job I can. And I do have times of rest because it Jesus, guys. I mean, it's like you almost get diagnosed with palsy. Your muscles tense up, your brain's constantly going, and you wear down from the inside out, if not from the outside in for being on the road and chasing down documents and doing all these things. It's like a really bad B-rated, Bond movie, but it gets the job done. I get the information that I'm looking for. And it takes a hell of a lot of discernment because you do have these people in the CIA or contract for the CIA that love to spread disinformation and go after people like me and Greer and all those other people. And they turn around and spread this information. They're feeling all happy like a puppy wagging their tail saying, well, I got this information from the CIA. It must be important. And they put it out there. I stay pretty quiet. I go after the information for me. I don't go after that narcissism, look at how special I am kind of stuff. But I do take the information, relay it to people that have really loud mouths and watch it spread and giggle to myself often. So it's,
Have you ever been aware of something that you've heard through the grapevine that for a fact just isn't true at all? Is that what you mean by sitting back and laughing while people are talking about wrong shit?
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Dr. Stephen Greer. I don't like to toss out names, but he's done a lot for awareness. And it's unfortunate because it happens to good people as well as they get talked to by people in counterintelligence. And people in ufology turn around, they have the newest information, and they rush and put it out there without doing proper homework or anything like that. And it really puts them in a foolish position.
Yeah.
Of people that actually have the documents that go against a lot of what they're saying. And, you've got to, unfortunately, the game's being played against people in a type of, social engineering where the whole sphere it's the kind of games that we play on Russia and China and stuff like that. Information gets tossed around and the wrong information ends up in Russia and they think they have the real information. And that's how it's done in wartime. That's how it's done in the CIA 24/7. And ufology it was definitely not left out of the picture. It was rated above the atom bomb as far as being top secret. So it was treated in such a way by the same people that are trained to do so. And man, if you look at ufology, there's a lot of people I like. There's a lot of people I love to death. And then there's a select few that just play the game so well, whether they're aware of it or not. It does a trickle-down effect and affects everybody that's taking on the information. So what a great way to play it all out, decent psyop. And that's how this whole thing's been handled the whole time. And once you learn it phonetically and you deal with these people on a daily basis, even experiencers, people that have had these experiences, they're scared, they don't want to talk to anybody about it. I earn their trust, and I keep it. You learn that. They become engineered. In one way, they go, well, this happened to me, I know it did. In another way, they go, well, this person in ufology is making sense, so this must be true, and that's what really happened to me. When really, you've got to help them cut the crap and come to terms with a biased opinion, remove it, and give them more of an open view, more of a subjective view on these so-called professionals have to say about their own lives. So it's God, I could talk for days when it comes to that, but yeah, that's exactly what's been happening for a very long time.
Yeah, definitely, man. It seems like, especially in ufology, it's like, you always have people saying, well, where's the proof, or have you done the research and this and that, and it's like, you can go so far, but it's like, in ufology, it seems like they take it to a whole nother step, because you've had like just years and years of like specific people purposely just trying to put
sometimes not aware that they're doing it for an organization that wants it out. So put it this way, a teacher is going to teach you that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Now, we all know Christopher Columbus did not discover America. There were people here already, but this teacher is instructed to do her job and teach these lessons. So she doesn't know she's giving a fallacy to children to grow up and believe. She believes she's doing a job and gets it done. So a lot of times it's not done on purpose. It's more sneaky than that.
Yeah.
And it's like the election cooties that we have going around right now. Everybody's afraid to get infected by its ignorance. But I didn't believe in UFOs. I thought and forgive me guys for saying this, I just want to be as honest as possible. I thought people that believed in that kind of thing were nuts. I mean, I was socially engineered just like everybody else is through, television and, your parents telling you stay away from those cult type people and all that stuff. So I had no idea. And when things began to happen to me, not in my bedroom, but out in the open where everybody can see it, I didn't want to believe they were UFOs. I tried to explain it away. I developed cognitive, distance, a cognitive fight in my mind where I know this is going on, and another part of my mind is going, no way, this can't be real. And so I had to fight that for a long time. And working with clients over the years, I've noticed that's the biggest thing with everyone else as well. They don't want to be called crazy, but they know it. They absolutely know it happens. So they're stuck in the middle, and they stay there. And if they never speak to someone that doesn't have judgment or anything like that, they stay there for a lifetime. And they end up in the grave with it. And that's a half a life, because we all live this duality where we're not 100% able to be ourselves in a society that doesn't accept that kind of thing. And you're not able to fully put on a fanny pack and have your socks up too high and, pay for something stupid with a 23% credit card and just watch your football and Honey Boo Boo and be happy with yourself, and
yeah, Honey Boo Boo.
It's just it's a different world when you have a bigger perspective about reality and what that means. We're absolutely humbled by the fact that there are higher intelligences that are coming here, and you can't fake that kind of humble.
Yeah. I mean, man, I might have asked you this already in the past, but I feel like there's something to be said about, man, like people that are so just against believing that, you know, people do have experiences. Like, do you as an experiencer sometimes just look at other people that are going along their day, you know, not bothered by these huge ideas? Do you ever look at them and like envy, like, man, I wish I was in the dark about this stuff?
Yeah, it's envy, it's PTSD, it's all those things. You know, you walk through Walmart, you have this new ability called empathy, and there's moments of, I try to stray from the word psychic, but these things come through, these premonitions, these feelings, emotions, the knowledge, and it's not controllable. It just kind of sporadically happens. And people that are psychic for a living, the real ones, there's a lot of frauds out there, have a lot of trouble with that as well. They don't have to be an experiencer to experience that kind of duality in life, that knowing, that part. But you know, there's a lot going on with, or was a lot going on at Stanford University, where we're doing a study to see the difference of the human brain of the experiencer and the average person. It turns out there is a lot of activity in the caudate putamen and basal ganglia that literally look like it's an antenna. That's what they call it, antenna. Whoa. And it literally, it's reaching outside the mind, and it's retrieving information from an unknown source. A lot of these brains are emitting 30 hertz without any reason or mechanism in the human brain to show why there's 30 hertz. Now, you're not going to be able to hear 30 hertz, but you will be able to detect it. Yeah. People that have meditated for a long period of time and have a very sound mind are broadcasting anywhere from 50 hertz to 100 hertz, and we still don't know. It's a postulation that people are able to control the brain synapses in that particular area, and it actually has so much activity that it makes sound. Under an MRI, it's so bright and so just on fire that it turns out white under an MRI. And white under an MRI usually means white brain dead matter. But in this case, we found out that it was highly active, and that's why it was showing up. It was white hot instead of inactive tissue. So we could probably do 10 shows on that.
Yeah. Alone. So I mean, dude, for those who don't know, because I mean, me and Bill were talking about this earlier, but like we're starting to get like new listeners like every single day. So there may be some people that are hopping on right now that aren't too familiar, but you actually are one of these people that can put the frequency out from your brain, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's believed that I might be able to bridge the gap and answer a lot of questions. I got with Harvard Med over at a talk that I did in South Carolina. They were very curious and scared at the same time. They didn't know what to, that kind of cognitive dissonance. Once again, we'd love to put this science out there, but we want to protect science. What do we do? And It's bureaucracy. I mean, you've got to cut through the red tape, but they're very interested. They are in the grant writing process. I was brought on as a consultant, and I couldn't wait for the grant to come through. I was wagging my tail. I was giddy. So I went ahead and sent them, information here and there. For them to kind of take that on and look in many different directions they may not have looked before, because it's great to have an open mind, but make sure it's not so open that your brain falls out. So but they went so far so fast. I was impressed. I'm like, these guys are great, and hopefully once this grant goes through, I'll have plenty of people like myself ready to go with these abilities. I was actually sent by my investigator to a Nashville recording studio, and the guy that owned the place, he was like, okay, you know what, you got 20 minutes and then I have a gig, and that's it. That's all the free time I can give you. And 4:00 that morning, we're sitting around eating Pizza Hut, talking about the universe, because they were just really flipped out, because I put out, I think the highest I've ever done was 3,000 hertz. Which turned out to hurt the investigator that was learning about it. Her face swelled up, and it was really bad. Only time my investigator was ever mad at me. He called me up And he said, "What did you do to her?" I mean, she did. She looked terrible, you know, and I felt really bad about it. But in the recording, I think you guys have the email from them.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that packet, I think I was doing 1,540 hertz.
Man.
And they had to run the, diagnostics on the machine because they couldn't possibly believe that I had that much control and that I can somehow do that. But it's normal to me now. It's like moving a toe or a pinky or moving your forearm. It's absolutely normal. People are like, "Can you do it Tuesday? I want to check it out." I'm like, "Anytime." It's not.
Yeah.
We were listening to an audio clip from the Dropbox of you and Bear, and y'all were messing with some kind of speaker that was putting out a frequency, right? Can you tell us a little bit, like paint the picture for us? Because man, that was a pretty cool audio clip.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Where you were interfering with that frequency and making it like wave.
Yeah, this is going to really either turn your listeners off or it's going to intrigue them because there's so much involved. The science of this. Once you understand it all, it's so mind-blowing. But your brain fires these electric things called synapses. You know, every time you have a thought, there's this blue light that goes from, one neuron to the next. And it's an amazing thing. It's called a thought. It's some type of electricity that most people don't understand. If you try to Google it, you won't find anything. And it's like, why don't we know what the substance is? Well, guess what? We do know what the substance is. It's in the blue spectrum of the electromagnetic field. Your brain is an electromagnetic casing, and so is your heart. And it houses this stuff. It's built to house this type of thing. So it's the machine was basically an electromagnetic field detector. But I put so much out from my brain at will that the box was just going off. And when I changed the frequency in my mind, the box as well changed the frequency itself because it was built to, pick up certain types of EMF frequencies. And once they turned the camera off and I figured out what was going on, I went, "You got to be kidding me." But once I've got, some information from Lockheed Martin, T. Townsend Brown, stuff like that, and put everything together, a lot of which came from Tesla, by the way, swept under the rug, just like most of the stuff that he's worked on. I found out a whole lot of stuff. So when it comes to basic ufology and most of the CIA, they don't have the information I have when it comes to these craft and how they're able to manipulate brain synapses because they're using the same technology as our brains.
Yeah.
So that's the neat stuff, spooky action at a distance, what Einstein called, or Stanford's saying quantum entanglement, but they also say, look, this is just a placeholder word because we don't understand what's going on, but there's information traveling and we don't know exactly how it's working. But, i.e. there's downloads, there's missing time, there are screen memories and stuff like that. It's because this antenna is being not only fed information, it is being in touch with something that's making it grow in activity. And the evidence is right there in the MRI. So, there's no proof that there's an experiencer. How is there a high electromagnetic field stimulating the basal ganglia? Yeah. Where's that coming from? It's not your fan. There's no fan in your bedroom that's going to put out that high of a electromagnetic field. It just doesn't happen. So you're dealing with something that can possibly make someone blind. Magnets that powerful, rotating to the point where it creates an electromagnetic field that's related to brain synapses, so you can actually communicate that way. I think here in the future we're going to figure that out, and cell phones and communication devices all over the world are going to have to adapt to this new type of technology. Back in 1952, electrogravitics went completely black. Completely military, completely black, and went silent in Lockheed Martin.
Everybody bought up the patents for all that stuff, right?
Yeah, they did. I mean, every scientist in the world was just rubbing their hands together, and they couldn't wait, to get it inventing, get this new stuff in their hands and see what they could do with it. And the military went, oh, heck no. And the reason being is because once you start playing with this stuff and realize that you can use it to interface with the brain, we thought of Russia and China and went, oh hell no, that's a really bad weapon.
I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
That never crossed my mind. Haha, crossed my mind.
So I'm kind of putting this together in my head a little bit. I would assume, like, you know, when you're looking at a craft or something, and, you know, if it is using this same energy that's being produced by the synapses in your brain, when people say that, you know, I get downloads or I hear them talking to me, like, from the ship, do you think that's why? Because that the same thing that creates the synapses in your brain is the same thing that is, you know, deals with the ship, I guess, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Probably controls the ship, right? And
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, that's why we call it the antenna, because it is somehow being interacted by this high electromagnetic frequency, and the only thing that could do that is power beyond belief. I was suspicious. I chased down these documents. Once I talked to a scientist here in America that's working on this type of technology, my floor hit the ground. My jaw just hit the floor. I couldn't believe what he was telling me, because I've been suspicious through my own experiences. I'm like, this has to be a brain tumor. There's something wrong with me. Yeah. I was at my investigator's house, you guys know, not very long ago, and I had a dream that I went outside, and this is what people contact me all the time. And sometimes it's an Air Force pilot, sometimes it's somebody in the military, and a lot of times it's just civilians, you know, in Uganda and 117 other different countries from all over the world. It's not just America. And they always say, you know, I just got a feeling to look up.
Yeah.
Well, if that part of your mind practices like your body would do at the gym, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, which builds a stronger antenna, you know, and that a bigger connection with empathy and psychic moments and communication with these type of people. And what safer way to do it than from a distance, and basically to the point where you don't really know that you're doing it unless you become aware of it. And, I had a dream over at his house that I went outside. I knew exactly where to look. I watched the craft. I pulled out my cell phone. I recorded it for a minute. And then my dream went blank. Well, I woke up the next morning, went into his office, and here he is with this big hat on, a big investigator, you know, and he's going through MUFON reports and MADAR system returns and all the things that went on overnight. And he said, you know, we had a big MADAR return over the house. It was an electromagnetic disturbance. And I said, well, that's interesting, because I had a dream that I went outside and filmed a UFO. And he looked over his glasses.
Check your phone.
Yeah, he said, check your phone. You know, he just looks over his glasses like the principal does, you know. And I said, no, it was a dream. I'm sure of it. So he stopped typing, looked at me again, and he said, Eric, check your phone. And I did. I pulled up my phone, like a teenager, like whatever, you know, and I hit play. And there it was.
Wow, dude.
And it wasn't an excellent shot, you know, and it's hard to get an excellent shot. I've had a member of the CIA get pissed at me because I showed him a shot that I took. And, you know, he said, you mean to tell me my $15 million plane and my $4 million camera can't get a better picture than you? And I said, well, there's a difference between you chasing it and it chasing me, you know, so.
Yeah, dude.
But anyway, I observed the film, and my suspicions were solved right there. You know, I can see this blue static in the bushes, and it was waving in a constant frequency. And it was happening. I believed I was in a dream because I was forced to think that way. And I caught it on camera. I mean, it was right there. I don't know if you guys have that information yet, but I can send it to you. It's not the coolest. You know, all you can see is this bluish white circle above the neighbor's house. Not really impressive to people that take this to like the entertainment type of way, you know, instead of the, you know, there's entertainment and then there's real science. And I try to look at the real science part. You know, movies are entertainment, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, I have my life staked in this, so I don't find it too entertaining. You know, And I understand that people do, and that's great. That's fine. Get anybody interested in this, because when it's the truth, it's the truth. But you can see this light dissipate and almost not be there.
Yeah.
You know, it was so sneaky and so methodical. And I probably watched the film about 10 times, and I went, my God, there it is.
Wow.
It helped me put all my suspicions to rest on how this is all working. You know, you could always be skeptical until reality hits you in the face. So, you know, I was just watching a video with Hal Puthoff and a lot of these guys in the TTSA, and they're like, how is consciousness involved? And I thought to myself, these guys don't know yet. They don't. They're still trying to figure it out. So I don't think many people know about this yet. But, you know, as we push forward, like I said, I'm not one of those people that learn information and just jump out there and try to give it to a bunch of people for popularity points or anything like that. My stake in this game is to find the truth, you know, and if people want to listen to it when I'm ready to talk, then I'll make sure that opportunity, actually all three of us are going to make that opportunity happen.
Heck yeah.
And they can get that information that way.
You know, it's funny because you just mentioned TTSA and how you think maybe they don't have the information yet. I wanted to ask you, what'd you think about the new site me and Ben came up with?
The new what?
The new website me and Ben came up with.
Yeah, TTFA.
Oh my God! I have the top 2 abs are in now, so I've decided to work on the other 4 because I was not expecting that. It cracked me up so bad. I've been working a lot, but I've been wanting to share that with a lot of people as well.
Yeah,
you know, I feel like maybe you know we don't want to get in trouble for it, but you know,
I think it'd be hilarious personally if TTSA doesn't have the information, and then when this is all said, done, and over with, if TTFA came out with the information and To the Stars got beat by To the Farts.
Dude,
how funny would that be?
Well, I think we're already ahead of the curve because little history lesson. Way back in the 90s, there was a guy. He was 16 years old, and he came up with a brilliant idea. And this man's head is always in the future. It's never here and now. And he's already built a lot of things for the future of humanity, you know. And he gets a bad rap for people that know who he is. But he doesn't get one from me. First and foremost, he invented websites, which was a big thing, still is. I mean, people have websites everywhere. At the age of 16, that's a hell of an achievement.
Yeah.
By the age of 19, he had a $3 billion Silicon Valley business building websites for, you know, businesses all over the world. It was a new concept. He had himself a UFO experience. Now, a genius like Joe had to know how it worked. He just had to. He walked away from $3 billion and started looking into how this thing works. Not ufology or any of that.
The science.
Yeah, most of the other stuff is just silly. He said, she said, they point fingers at each other. If you know, lay down ironclad absolute proof, they'll find out that you got drunk when you were 21 and went home with a strange woman. So therefore, everything that you just said is wrong.
Yeah,
you know, that's how.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you kidding me? You know, semantics. This is literally mental illness that we're dealing with, and so Joe he spent the last 20 some odd years working with electrogravitics and things of that nature, and he did use a few magnets to fire a neuron. And when he did so, it was eureka, you know.
Wow.
And so this type of science really goes back to when we discovered fire. You know, we rubbed these two sticks together. Living, breathing organism was almost through a portal, you know, brought into reality. It's a living, breathing, eating organism, and it's changed everything in humanity. I mean, everything. So this is our next round when it comes to these two magnets rubbing together in a very particular way. I can't give away too many secrets that create this electromagnetic field that's related to the same thing that your brain is, your consciousness is. And once that cat comes completely out of the bag, nothing on planet Earth is going to be the same.
Whoa.
But
that's some exciting stuff right there, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, my brain's going crazy with all kinds of questions and ideas. Like, I've always had this feeling that anti-gravitic technology and things of that nature that involve the paranormal and things like that, and things that like blow the mind as far as science and physics go. Like I've always had this feeling that everybody says it takes an enormous amount of power to achieve something like that, but how do you know? Like, did people run a simulation and they're like, you know what? The answer is we need a lot of electricity. I have a feeling that it doesn't need that big of a power source. I've always kind of thought that, and maybe it was like influenced by certain people talking about like the power source of a UFO ship is basically could be powered by like a 9-volt battery. I don't know who said that, but does that sound familiar?
Well, yeah, I mean,
it does.
I'm running off of a taco I had this afternoon, so I think you're right on the ball. You know, I mean, that's it right there. What does it take to, you know, your brain takes up, 20% of your body's energy, and that's what it needs to, process properly. Now, we don't have to have that full taco, we can make it till dinner or whatever, but no, it takes a very small amount. Look when we split an atom, a tiny little atom can't do anything. And, it can blow up a major city, but if we learn to poke a hole in it and let it just kind of shoot everything out, it's a ton of energy coming out of that.
Yeah.
And if you think about how many atoms are in the human body and how much power you actually have as a form of matter, it's ridiculous. If you split every atom in the human body, there wouldn't be a solar system left. It's not about, Western thinking or humanity thinking. We're thinking too small because, let's face it, these other people, what the Pentagon likes to call the others, are, they're holding down a 500 to 1,000 IQ, not to mention they don't have taboo in their culture like, empathy is a myth and psychic ability is a myth. We hold ourselves back because we say, well, psychic hasn't been proven yet. Well, it's been proven all the time. Love has been proven all the time. Under a microscope, no. I get into arguments with these PhDs. They're like, well, you prove to me that love exists. They're like, well, I can't. And I said, well, hug your mother and give me a call, because it's there, it's real. And they said, well, it's a bunch of chemicals that do this and that. I said, have you proven it, or is it, just a hypothesis? And they're like, well, that's what we believe. And I'm like, well, great job. I got other stuff I got to do. Take care. Bye-bye then. And, prioritize my time on something that's, more tangible. But yeah, I mean, the caudate putamen and basal ganglia are very responsible for, motor function for a lot of different things. But it seems like these more advanced brains that are literally going on with experiencers, yeah, we're chameleons. Yeah, we fit in. We're great accountants. We're great musicians. We're great scientists. And we don't show the public what we really have to offer. It's hidden. It's completely hidden. And if we wanted to show it at any given time, it would be hard to do, because we practice this duality 24/7, where we have to play the part of the cashier or the cook, and we also play the part at home where we have to deal with our abilities. And usually it's a fumble about. It's very difficult because, if you don't practice yourself 24/7 and genuinely be yourself, and have to mask most of that, you really don't know how to come completely out of that bubble and be yourself immediately. It takes time, and get away from Walmart, get away from other people, and get away from all those feelings that are external that internally leap into you, and kind of clear your head, and then you can be yourself. And a lot of experiencers don't even know that. They just know they're battling, and they try to win. But we did camps out in Maine where we had 70 people, or over 70 people from many different countries, experiencers from the White House, people in Congress that had experiences. There was one person running for 2016 presidential election that was an experiencer, and he also wanted to be briefed, so I made sure to pack over 1,000 documents for him to go through.
Wow.
And man, it was like, you would expect a brain surgeon and a doctor, lawyers, and stuff like that to still hide behind their, societal facade. I make more money than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm more important. These people put that baggage at the door and they ran around like 10-year-old children because they were so happy they could be themselves without judgment. And, we didn't live on the divide and conquer thinking or judgmental thinking that we are forced to live in this so-called society, this broken, very, very broken society.
Yeah.
But we were free, 100% free to laugh, to share, to enjoy ourselves. We were all like kids, and to see that, and to see everyone cry when it was time to go home. They just didn't want to fit back into that damn box that was completely and utterly useless to our lives. But we all had to go, and so yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing. But you think of Spider-Man or Batman or something like that. Guys, I'm a chef right now, and I go in there, I cook food, it's hot, I'm putting these dishes together, and at the same time, everybody that knows about me in the public are like, there's no way you're a chef and you're cooking food and doing all that. Guess what? There's no way those people I work with have any idea what I do out in the public. And it's like, so, the public's not going to believe me, and the people I work with are not going to believe me. So, there's my duality. There's my double life that I live all the time. I was talking to television the other day. They're talking about doing an amazing TV show on experiencers. I have a lot of clients to bring in and many different situations. They're entirely intrigued, and they're like you guys. They really know how to get into the right questions and all that stuff. So I'm working with them. I got off the phone with them, got back on the phone with a congressman, talking about some really deep and dirty secrets and all that stuff. And it's like, Congressman, I gotta go clock into work, so
Yeah.
there I go, put on my apron.
I gotta go make some steak, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I might develop a Twitch or something like that, but
I mean, maybe at the same time, it's good to have that balance of people that, that don't know this side. I bet it's kind of freeing in a way. Like, you get into this this culture of people that really want to know your story and know who Eric Mitchell is and why your story is so interesting. And I bet that could be a little overwhelming. I mean, you spend so much of your time talking with other experiencers. I mean, it must be nice having that balance. Like, okay, no one knows me here. Like, I can, whatever. I don't have to talk about this for like a day or something.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that how the yin and yang work? The universe itself, she speaks in an on and off system. Even, now as I use my voice, the silence in between the words and the pausing and everything like that define the loudness and the frequency and everything that comes out. And just like space itself, people point at it, it's big empty space, but guess what? It defines Earth itself. Without space, Earth wouldn't be defined as a separate entity. So in all of nature and all of existence, this is how it defines itself. And I think the Chinese tried really hard to pull out the yin and yang and say, look, this means a lot. You just have to think really deep about it and maybe start smoking pot. So but yeah, they did a good job with that, but not as in depth as what a lot of people would see.
Yeah. So I had a thought a minute ago, like, so we're talking about how powerful it is to open, I guess, can we call it an awakening when your brain is completely used for its full potential? I'm just thinking about like the idea that, man, whatever it is or how it works is so powerful that maybe, like, okay, we know that it can control spaceships. Not only that, but it can control the world around you. It can control atoms and stuff. Like, it's so powerful, but at the same time, like, our culture is trying to dampen that, and like, people that are trying to be open with you, or it's like, in our culture, it's kind of like, oh, that's lame. Like, why is this guy being like so open towards me? People want to be like funny or make a joke, or like, oh, why is that dude being again so open? But I just kind of thinking about that idea where, man, this power source is so powerful. Like, why can't we access it? Why isn't it okay to open that up? I don't know. That's just kind of an idea that I was thinking about. No,
I mean, come on. I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, we always had to have a king or a control system over all of us, and a
Yep.
monetary system that controls that. And human beings are way more powerful than they'd ever realize. I've experienced telekinesis. I've experienced meditation where you literally are connected with everything else that there is. And no, I'm not a guru, and I don't wear funny clothing or anything like that. But I do enjoy meditation. I enjoy the things that I've learned, and there's some holy cow moments. But Robert Schrodinger, brilliant scientist, he said the number of all minds are one, and he's absolutely correct. This thing we call consciousness, or the thing that we're pretending to be at the same time as consciousness is happening, that is the same thing as it. There's no difference at all.
Yeah.
And I think once people find that out, they'll laugh profusely, because we're all playing a part in a game that we didn't create for ourselves. And once we rise above that, look at Jim Carrey. He may not be an experiencer. He might be.
Oh, that dude is on another level.
Yeah. But he's getting to the point where he understands that we all play a part like an actor in a role,
Yeah.
Right,
You look at school, you're either a skater or a stoner or a this. You have to have that label right off the bat in life. And you know what? It may define who you are in an insecure way for your entire life. But we don't run up to an oak tree and say, damn you, why didn't you grow into a tulip?
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. The Chinese have a word for that. It's called ziqiang, and it means that which is of itself. And it's okay. You have little girls looking at magazines, and they're like, I wish I was that beautiful and all that stuff. Guess what? You belong exactly how you are. You're beautiful exactly how you're designed. And nobody should be able to judge that or put a label on it. But we do. We live in a society that's controlled in a psychological manner that way. And we just kind of self-police each other, that this part of you is wrong, this part of you is wrong. Well, guess what? The ocean itself expresses itself in a way that's called a wave. And even though it looks different from the rest of the ocean, it is the act of itself that creates such a beautiful thing that defines the entire place you would call the ocean. So even if it's never an imperfect wave. You've never seen an imperfect cloud. So therefore, when you look in the mirror, you do see perfection. And we are tricked to believe that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
When I look in the mirror, that's exactly what I see.
I see a perfect
you
cloud.
Are goddamn perfect.
Yeah. that beard, yeah, dude. Perfect
Oh,
cloud.
Ben, you're come on, dude. Look at the beard, man.
Yeah, that's Joe's beard. He has the glorious beard.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's right. You can't deny epic beard people at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just.
Hey, I had a kind of a trippy thought, and I was thinking about this as you were saying all those awesome things, Eric. So this is just a thought. I'm throwing it out there, but I like to think of, or I just had a thought of consciousness being like this free flowing thing, and like there's all kinds of psychology around the consciousness is made up of 3 different elements: the id, the ego, and the superego. And it's almost like culture is reflecting that. Where, like you said, we're checking ourselves at all times. Like, don't be too open to people. You can't be too trusting. Like, you have to watch yourself. And then there's like this overpowering, super ego, which is like, I guess in this instance, like the government that's controlling shit, or maybe not the government, but like this cabal that's controlling everything at the top with like satanic shit, but
Yeah.
But I don't know, I had that thought. I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, it's kind of reflecting art reflecting reality, or vice versa.
Yeah, it is. I mean, consciousness is all connected, but it doesn't mean that every mind or radio receiver, as it may be referred to, could actually, be as evolved as other people. People, as far as brain capacity, all don't evolve at the same time. So when you have these rich and powerful misanthropic sociopathic nutcases that do everything they can to be in a position of power because they have some sort of edible issue they need to deal with, there could never be enough power. There could never be enough money. It's never enough. I want to win the game of life. So they take on that type of role. I mean, that's a chest banging Neanderthal compared to somebody that sits up, 8 hours a day in Nepal and meditates for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
These two minds aren't even the same species. Yes, they're humanoid. Yes, they have 2 arms and 2 legs, but are they evolved at the same time? And I say absolutely not. If you look at these MRIs of experiencers, they're highly active and they're not allowed to show it in public. So that's exactly, I could not say that loud enough, that the magic that you would be able to see from someone like me, the only way you could really access that is put them in a situation where it's comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
And, I just posted in a private group today about something that popped up that my brain just wouldn't take. I'm like, I had a client, he was telling me about this thing he was dealing with, and my brain went, no. This guy he's smart, he's intelligible, he's hardworking, he's educated, he's so many things. And for him to say this to me, I'm like, what? So I had to do some digging. Couldn't find anything on the internet. So I reached out to certain people, and I ended up closing the door in my own face, because he was right about what he was telling me. Uh-huh. And I had a lot of trouble believing. I didn't tell him that, of course. That's him opening up for the first time. That's a dangerous move for anyone to smash them down. A lot of ufology does that. A lot of MUFON do that.
Yeah.
And these people never talk again. So you got to be really, really surgical and helpful with these people as they're going through this process of opening up and gaining a voice. And I personally believe we all need a voice, and if we stay silent about this big elephant in the room, guess who's going to control the information? And they have lots of big guns, and we don't want that. But yeah, so I mean, I posted something on a group of 300 experiencers today, and people are just popping out and going, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." So
wow.
Yeah, man, I think I know what you're talking about as well. I saw you post that, and you're right. You can't find anything on the internet about it. But that's funny, because I have heard people talk about it, and I have heard stories about it, and it's odd, but at the same time, when we're dealing with this situation that we're dealing with, I mean, what isn't odd about all of this stuff? It kind of almost makes you think, like, what is, when it comes to this high strangeness, I mean, what is, for you personally, I mean, what is the cutoff point? Like, what is just kind of unacceptable, I mean, because we know there's a lot of fakers and stuff like that in the field, but then also there's some people who make outrageous claims, but there might be something to it. I mean, what is the cutoff point,
Yeah, that's the most important thing, is to sharpen your discernment. Like I say, two sayings that I've said to ufologists over the years. And guys, a lot of us haven't gotten along.
Yeah.
But I'm not all out there trying to be popular. I don't have this big ego to throw all over the place. I spend a lot of my time with compassion and helping people that I've never met before. And it does something for me, because I'm a victim to this whole thing, but I'm not going to play the part. Even though it really damaged my life and gave me this new one that I never asked for, I want to solve this puzzle and, help it for, other people too. But I don't publish my work. I don't get out there and say, well, I learned this from so-and-so and that from so-and-so. These are quiet people. These people want to live a normal life. They don't want their wives or husbands to know, and they have nowhere to turn. And something as simple as being able to externalize it vocally to a person that understands one time could literally change their life. I mean, the next day, they're a better employee. Think of like homosexuals, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. They weren't able to express whatever it is they wanted to express and be themselves. So it just kept locking them up inside. 20 years ago, almost every homosexual you would meet were on drugs, depressed, drinking too much, and nowadays,
they're happy as shit.
They're happy as hell. They got a rainbow flag. They belong in society, and that's perfect. That's great. That's wonderful. And here we have this again. We go back to, slavery with African Americans. We go back to women's rights. And we look at recent human history, and realize that these things, have changed pretty quick over a short period of time. So I think, people like myself, it would be very difficult because there's a lot of social engineering and television and things of that nature that have been used to teach people that people like myself are absolutely nuts. Guess what? I'd run 9 miles through broken glass naked just to throw a rock at someone that could tell me I was nuts and put it down on paper, because that's what I'd rather have. That I would be accepted in society as a nutcase. Give me that one. You know what? I picked that one. I would want that, other than the reality of the fact that I have to deal with these things. You know, my God, I mean. Yeah, I mean, I'm in my camper right now. I've got actually Christy with me this evening. We're hanging out.
Awesome.
And
tell her what's up for us.
What's up, Christy?
Hey, everybody says what's up, Christy.
Hi.
But her and I had 7.5 hours missing time.
Yeah.
Whoa. Was this recently?
No, it was back 2013. We were just kind of hanging out in the car and sitting there. I think it was a little bit chilly outside, so I turned the heater on. And there's some things I'm not going to mention quite yet, but things happened in the car that have had everlasting effects. But the car started to vibrate, and I looked. She started to panic for, she says no reason, but when your car's vibrating like that, but she doesn't remember the car vibrating. But and that's the thing with Christy. Christy drives me up the wall. She remembers everything verbatim. I'm a gist guy, I'm like, so-and-so said this. It's not word for word, but I'm just passing the message. Christy will do it word for freaking word. And, and it doesn't matter if it's been 20 years.
That's how me and Ben are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, 20 years, it's still locked in her mind word for word. And it drives me nuts. I'm like, how do you people do this? And for her to say, I remember this part and I remember that part. And then for some reason there's a blank there and I don't know why. I'm like, Christy, that's not you. You remember everything. She goes, I know. So we've been talking a little bit here and there, not too much pressure, but just kind of working through. And I don't want to add in anything from that missing memory. I'm trying to just kind of lead her a little bit to think about those things, because I was there, I was present, and I seen what she's missing in her mind. And I don't want to be, you know what I mean? You have to be careful with that.
You don't want to taint her memory and place false memories
Feed
or something
to her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was one instance where we were outside, and I think we were drinking beer, which is, everybody in ufology knows it's a dangerous hallucinogen where it makes you see things.
God.
Oh, right, yeah. You seen a UFO? You were probably drinking.
No idea.
Yeah, Southern guy in the South with a Bud Light in his hand. Yep, every single time. But but I seen that sumbitch come down and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but
and oddly enough, usually probably telling the most truth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys are in Texas.
Oh yeah,
I'm drinking beer right now.
And the further south you go, the more you realize that these people are church going, God fearing, and some of the most honest people in the world. And that guy's a hillbilly or a redneck. He's not believable. It's like, have you ever hung out with, Southern pride people, real true rednecks, and listen to one lie to you? I mean, they're not. They're going to, and the more they drink, the more honest they get.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, if you don't understand the culture, just please learn, because, it's a very honest, I spent time in Vegas. I was all over New England. For 6 years, I was traveling all over America looking for information, learning things. I roommated with Travis Walton for 8 months. I got myself involved in some stuff, oh my God, I may never talk about, but people are going to ask me in the future, how did you get these documents? And I'm just going to stare at my shoes and kind of sway back and forth. But I don't really talk about the crap I've been through to get the information I have. But coming back home and seeing my friends and seeing honest people that aren't there trying to rip you off or make money off of you, trying to write a book about it. I mean, it was just so cutthroat that people would actually make friends with me and make me believe it so they can run off with whatever they wanted from me. And I forgot what it was like to be home around honest people that actually cared. And I'm like, I'm dealing with shock right now. Like, just, wow, that person just genuinely hugged me. And
man, it's gotta feel
really good. Yeah, it just felt really different from the last 6 years of my life. So I'm home, and it's good, because I don't care. There are a lot of people that witness these things, and I get bad looks at Walmart. And I get Lowe's the other day. There's I can only assume it was a wife and a husband, but they both had a paranormal matching T-shirt on. And the wife is elbowing the crap out of the husband and just pointing at me. She's like, "Oh God, look at that! Oh my God!" And I'm like, yeah. And I'm just like, "Yes, I do look that good, But once again at the Olive Garden, this guy, he's double taking, triple taking. You can see his eyebrows pressed together, and I'm thinking, okay, I know what this is about. And finally, he's slapping at his wife and pointing at me, and I'm like, "Guys, I can see you." Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's really difficult.
So I mean, what it baffles me because like it's not like you're on TV every night in front of people. Like people actually have to know and recognize you. I mean, in your hometown, I mean, what happened? Your experience is somewhat of like folklore. Like people know about it, not folklore like as if it's false, but it was like a big
legend.
It's a legend. There you go. Like people go out to where it all happened and like. They know who you are, which has got to feel kind of strange, but yeah, it's there's teenagers that go out there every weekend. They have tailgates and smoke joints and drink beer and talk about the whole urban legend. That's what it's become. But that whole street, there was a guy from Chicago because my landlord literally everybody moved out. And my landlord could not get anybody to rent anything from there because there was so much talk in town and, don't go out there, it's dangerous and stuff like that. So he literally couldn't pay his bank note. He sold the whole street. This is 20 apartments and 3 trailers.
Damn.
To a guy from Colorado. And the guy from Colorado obviously didn't know, the talk around town. But he had to sell everything for $150,000. And this guy from Colorado, he fixed the place up and made it look really nice. And he, in the past 7 years, he's been able to have 3 tenants.
Damn.
So yeah, I feel bad, but I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault.
I didn't do this.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine. I'm just thinking of a scenario where you show up out there one night and all the teenagers just scatter. They're like, "Oh shit! Oh shit!"
Oh no, guys, I am planning that. I don't know if I'm gonna wear like a cloak or whatever the case. I'm gonna do something. You guys know. I mean, we haven't known each other for a long time, but I've got a sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
and I cannot pass that up.
I can see you being somewhat of a prankster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you go through like that much pain, when you go through that much confusion and fear and loss and all that stuff, what you do tend to find is when you look at people, that deal with a lot of problems like that, like famous actors, Robin Williams, he had a very painful life and the only way he could cope was humor. So when talking about this subject, I hold it back a lot. I mean, I could really crack some crap, but that would hurt the feelings of people that, live with it and take it incredibly seriously. And it would hurt their feelings. But now being alone, hanging out with Christy or something like that, I mean, that poor girl, she ends up laughing way too much in a day's time. And I got to tone that crap down. But yeah, it's a coping mechanism, and it works for me, and obviously it works for her too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see, that happy guy on TV, but you also, see that PTSD and depression, deep in their eyes if you look, deep enough. And yeah, it is. As far as a prankster, I would never prank a UFO thing or anything like that. But
oh yeah, I'm sorry I said that. I didn't mean it like that.
No,
I knew as soon as I said that, I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I meant.
No, I had to clear that up because there's one person in the crowd that pays attention to semantics and semantics only.
Yeah.
And I knew it,
Right.
we caught the tater, but look, I mean, the CIA knows. I knew about ATIP back in 2013 when they sent F-18s out to my house along with a assault helicopter. They did take pictures through the gun camera and all that stuff, and long story short, I found out who was tracking me and all that stuff, and I tracked him back. And I found out about OSAP, ATIP, the Phenomenology Desk, Dr. Kid Green. He used to run the Phenomenology Desk, and now it is Kit Green. He's all over the Harvard study, and he shouldn't even know about it yet because there isn't one yet. But
seems like that guy's got his fingers in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, retired CIA my butt. But
yeah, I feel the same way.
But yeah, there's a different guy running, the operation now. There is the aviary. I help expose all those guys. There's about 200 people in the aviary that keep a lid on the UFO subject, some of which are highly involved publicly in talking about the UFO subject. When they're dealing with the CIA, they were cover up, but when they're dealing with the public, they're just giving wonderful information. So double agent type of stuff.
It's kind of like that Richard Doty stuff that we got into, where it's like he's like disinformation, but he's also in the public eye,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Richard Doty is in the aviary. He has been for a long time. He was in Air Force intelligence, and he's been feeding Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, a lot of information that he's repeating out to the public. Yeah. So there you go with a perfect scenario on how that happens.
Right.
Now, the Phenomenology Desk, they have about 200 people in the CIA, 50 of which are highly active in ufology, and 5 of which are just super active. And you wouldn't recognize their face or their names, but they are the cap, the crown on this whole thing. And so once I was able to crack the code, because these guys had bird names, they were like Blue Jay was. I was the reason why they ended up on Google. That's how you found them. It's like, no, they don't get on Google by accident. I worked hard, But yeah, Blue Jay was Dr. Kid Green. He's the geneticist, biologist, and he worked for the CIA for a long time. He was the head of the Phenomenology Desk for years. And he was all over the Stanford study and wanted to get in on the Harvard study. And Harvard called me. They're like, we're not getting the CIA involved. And I said, no, why would you even say that? And they're like, this guy is on the phone with me. And I said, no, do not get him involved. This belongs to the, experiencers. This belongs to society. And guess what? Stanford shut up really fast. And first and foremost, they didn't like ufology and what they were doing. And they also didn't like counterintelligence all over the place too. So instead of all this information getting out, it was like hungry hippo. It was embarrassing watching these ufologists jump all over this university with such a lack of integrity just to try to be the one that gets the information out. And I'm like, guys, you are so embarrassing yourselves right now.
Yeah.
It's like... It's like Nancy Pelosi, I mean, it's like, wow, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah. It was hard, man. It's hard to find a more embarrassing human being. Well, I don't know. I guess if you're talking about that group of people, they're all pretty embarrassing, honestly.
Dude, that scarf image was like the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. And you told me like that scarf is like there's some there's like some background behind. Eric, do you know what I'm talking about? That image of the Congress people wearing that the African pattern scarf is like a particular kind of pattern, right? Like it's referring to it was supposedly to be worn by a tribe who
who was known for being part of the slave trade in the first place.
Yeah.
And it was almost
my God, no.
Yeah, it was almost like double speak, or like I don't, or like it's almost like, dude, you couldn't have possibly been that ignorant. Like somebody had to have done some research. It was almost like they did it and they were like, look at us in our solidarity, but also most of you are too stupid to
Wink,
realize that this is like part of the slave trade, like back in the day. It's like, yeah, that stuff's all pretty silly, but yeah, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it sounds like a classic move from a typical narcissist. You know, that's the kind of thing they do. They are boastful in silence, if you will, and they kind of do that a lot, and it's embarrassing. I don't really follow a whole lot of politics. I did know about this coronavirus, I think back in 2015 or 16, and followed it. But yeah, it's really bad. You know, I just call it the election cooties. You know, people can sit there and say that, you know, it's just this. It happened naturally and it escaped the lab. Can I just rewind and say that sentence again?
Yeah.
It happened naturally, but it escaped a lab. And, people think it came from a horseshoe bat. It's not indigenous. In that area, up to 600 miles, where you go way out into the cave areas where they actually do exist. But no, I mean, Burisma was involved. For, listeners that, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but Burisma was the oil company in the Ukraine that came up with a fake dossier on Trump.
right.
There are 5 American biotech facilities out there. They're out there to avoid the Geneva Convention, and they were going to create, what was it called? COVID-13. 13 is like a scary number. So that, SARS didn't work. The swine flu didn't work. None of that. So we wanted to come up with
bird flu.
something really scary. So it had to be, genetic line number 13, which when it was tried, it was terrible stuff. I mean, it came out like the common cold. It didn't work.
They were like, damn, it didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, this is stupid, So Tony Fauci went ahead and sent that up to the Wuhan lab, where they were really good with the coronavirus, and they were able to bring it up to COVID-19, which was respiratory, in the mainly in the S protein cells, and that's the the little tentacles that hang off that stick to your throat and then can get strong enough to get into your lungs and fight your system. The S cells were really impressive, so they decided to go with that one.
Wow.
Trump already knows about that, and he's, I guess, pretty methodical. He's not really a politician. He's a businessman, so he's going to deal with that in his own time, I'm sure. But it was definitely engineered by the same people that engineered the fake dossier against him.
Yeah, man. The golden showers.
Yeah. I mean,
what?
I'm kind of upset. I really feel like we missed out on the murder hornets. I mean, that one was.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was like, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, whoever sat in the boardroom and said, "Okay, we're going to do more murder hornets too," I'm like, that guy had a great idea. I mean,
and now, dude, now I'm seeing all these posts about damn mosquitoes, and they're like, mosquitoes have tested positive for West Nile virus, and everybody's freaking out. And it's like, dude, we live in Texas, for one, so there's mosquitoes all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
And for two, there's a new mosquito disease every single year. West Nile usually covers it for the most part. I mean, we had the Zika thing, but I mean, that was also man-made and patented and all kinds of shit.
So I didn't know that.
It's just like, it's fear-mongering, like, one after another, and it's like,
yeah.
I'm so tired of it, and it sucks because, like, people get mad at me because I'm like, I don't even care anymore. Like, and they're like, you don't care?
Well, I've got to warn you, because we are on radio right now. You spoke of bugs, you said mosquitoes. That might be offensive, because look, I got bit by a chigger the other day. It was a nasty little red whelp, you know.
Yeah.
And I told my buddy over the phone. He was like, Eric, whoa. That's not a chigger. That's a Chigro American.
Oh my God.
You know? So, yeah, we just got to tread on some water here, fellas.
Dude, yes. Walking on eggshells, man.
Yeah.
Walking on eggshells. Oh,
Yeah.
holy crap.
I mean, but I mean, you know, on an election year, it's ridiculous. You know, here in town, we have like tourism and stuff like that. And we have these big, I don't even know what to call them, but they call them ducks. And you could probably cram like 30 people in them side by side. And they have a motor to drive on the street. And we have huge lakes here, and it has a boat motor in the back. So
Yeah, we have those in Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm driving down the street the other day. I hit a red light, and I'm listening to some great music. Imagine Dragons. These guys are I like them, and kind of grooving to it. And here I see this thing going 25 miles an hour past me, and there's 30 people crammed in there like sardines with their damn masks on.
Like that's gonna do it.
And you know, I didn't have a BB gun. I couldn't throw fruit. I was helping. You know, I'm like, social distance, damn it. You know, it's the South. It'd be like, see y'all later at Walmart. You know, but
Yeah, seriously.
See you at Walmart. Oh my
it's
God,
just,
dude.
you know, you can't have that much contradictory in one spot. You know, it's like, what the?
Oh,
But
man.
I don't know.
We just received the work orders at work, all the rules and stuff for the city that's been pushed down from the governor and all that stuff. And, like, they're talking about the regulations and, like, when you're supposed to wear a mask. And, like, literally one of the things says you must wear a mask unless swimming. Please remove mask. And it's like, dude, if you have to tell somebody to remove their mask while they're swimming, I think maybe we should just let that person go.
It's
You know?
technically
Yeah,
waterboarding.
You have to wear a mask unless you're voting, and then you don't have to wear a mask. You have to wear a mask unless you're doing exercise, then you don't have to wear a mask. So it's basically like, wear a mask unless you're doing anything.
Yeah.
And then don't wear a mask.
I
we
wore my
need-
mask on the toilet. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's like the only time when a mask is useful, so that way it's not as stinky.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. You know, I just, oh my God, I can go so many different directions with this. But,
We're laying it up, dude.
oh my God. No, look, I mean, you know, my daughter, she's got into science at a young age. She graduated at 14 years old. I was taking her to National Park Medical Center at 14 and 15 years old, and now she's a microbiologist. So, you know, I might understand a little bit more than the average person when it comes to microbiology. But look, if I can fart, it doesn't, matter if I ate a taco or a tomato or whatever. If I can fart and it goes through my underwear and my pants and your mask, this virus is going to have no trouble whatsoever doing the same thing.
Yeah,
It's way smaller than your fart particles, man.
Yeah. And now they say, well, people are onto this. We're going to tell them it's to protect other people. And that's not true as well. I mean, the OSHA and the CDC, they require any mask-wearing jobs have guidelines because your brain, and everything else involved have a requirement of 19.5% oxygen. You'll learn this real quick if you, do deep sea diving or something like that. Your brain requires that. And after you drop below 19.5, precious, and I mean precious brain cells die at a rapid rate inside your brain. Unlike the rest of your body, your brain does not regenerate these cells. They're dead for good. So
I have not thought about that angle. That's really interesting. Like, but they're just trying to make us dumb now.
Yep.
Like, first it was chemtrails, now it's chemtrails and the mask.
Fluoride.
I think fluoride, television. I mean, television is doing a really good job. I stopped for 6 years, and I sat down in Barry's living room. He's got a nice TV. He turns it on, and I'm like, why are we watching the dumb box, Do we need to be programmed today? Because they have programming. And he said, no, you got to see this. It's a thing called, and we met with them up in California. What was that? Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
So he was interested in that because he's actually one of the cases in Project Blue Book. And,
Oh, wow.
You know, showed me some of that. And I saw a commercial, and it's this woman in a two-piece, blonde, you know, bimbo as can be, because that's the only way she would have signed a contract to do a commercial like this. And she's holding a bacon cheeseburger, and they're like, "This is the three-way burger."
Oh yeah,
like,
I know exactly what commercial it's like.
Now, keep in mind, though, guys, I haven't watched TV in 6 years, so I went from, you know, just regular TV to what the hell is going on here? It was so drastic. The very next commercial was Naked and Afraid. And I went, I'm looking around the room and everybody's acting like that crap is normal. I'm like, whoa, pause that. Will you please pause that? I want to have a conversation right now with everybody in the room.
Yeah.
I have feelings and I want to share them, and it's going to happen. So they're like, "Oh yeah, Naked and Afraid's been around for a while." I'm like, "What the hell is it?" And they're like, "Well, it's a TV show where you get naked and run around in the woods." And I'm like, Jesus, when I was a teenager, it was called Illegal.
Yeah, seriously. Dude, I kind of had the same experience. I hadn't had cable in like, man, close to like 10 years. And then I finally got to a position where I was like, you know what? Because, okay, when it comes to the dumb box, in college football, that's all me. I'm a diehard Longhorn fan. I love watching my Horns play football. I love that. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna get some cable so I can watch the game, you know, at my house. I'm tired of going to other people's houses or to a bar or something. I just want to watch it in my house and relax. And so I got cable, and dude, I felt myself get dumber like immediately. Like I would watch the show, I would watch the games, and then like the commercials, like just everything, and then like we had like a year contract. Once that year contract was up, dude, we canceled that shit. Like I just like I couldn't do it anymore. Like it was just so silly.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes of actual what you want to watch, and then 3 minutes of commercial. Like that's
it's terrible.
That's the average. So I mean, like what you said, Eric, like programming, dude. Like they
used to be shows, and now they're called programs.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of history to that, man. We could do a whole show on that. I've dug into that because the number one thing I pay attention to is social engineering.
Yeah.
You know, it's the bigger picture. It's the control system. And it's something that people really need to look into, like what's the project? Sorry, it's like 110 degrees, and I think my nose just fell off. But,
you're just melting.
But yeah, I'm just melting. It's no big deal. But
won't the sun go down?
Yeah, seriously.
Project Mockingbird, where the CIA took over the media a long time ago.
Yeah.
To tell you exactly what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
But, you know, in society right now, I feel really skittish because I'm walking around, I'm going to places like Walmart, and, you know, I engage myself in conversations because I'm a muggle now. So don't tell everybody, but I'm like muggling around. And it's the Bible Belt. I mean, nobody pays attention to, you know, experiencers and UFOs and stuff like that. So I get to be a muggle and smile. It's not... I don't know. Mine looks more like gas, but I'm working on it. But I get to smile and stuff, and people are like, "Yeah, it's the I don't know what. God, I'm going to get this wrong and probably piss off your listeners, but the Tiger King, I think it's called."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when they start talking about that, I have no idea what they're saying, and so I iterate. And they all just like turn on me really bad. Like they're so angry with me. I feel like I'm going to get beat up in the parking lot later. Like, you have never seen the Tiger King?
Seen this?
I mean, is it like the Lion King? That was kind of cute, you know. But it's like, look at that social engineering. They're like mad at you because you didn't watch a show they've watched.
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
Why do people do? I mean, I'm honestly, I'm guilty of doing that too, but what is that? Like, oh, what the
I saw this meme the other day, and it was like, isn't it weird how Tiger King was the most normal part of 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know what it is, but I'm afraid, I think maybe if I watch that on television, I'll become one of them and maybe assault other people in parking lots that haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you'll love it, dude. Also, it's on Netflix, so no commercials, so no programming. It's pure it's pure content. It's just
it is a comedy of comedies, and but the thing is, it's not supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah,
but it is a goddamn comedy. It's a beautiful tragedy. But it's hilarious. It's dude, I don't know. I can't even explain it.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I stay confused, but I might sit down one day and just I don't know. I've got if you have IQ 150, I can kill a few brain cells.
Maybe if you end up smoking that pot, that'll be the first thing you sit down and watch.
Oh my God, guys! Did I tell you I did that in Vegas?
Oh
Hell yeah, that's legal in Vegas.
You had mentioned that you smoked a little pot in Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm from the same town as Bill Clinton, but we have our differences. I actually, I did inhale, but so did he. But that's a long story. But yeah, we went into a dispensary, and I hadn't smoked pot since I was like late teens or whatever. And back then it was called Mexican Red, and you could literally smoke a whole joint and just be happy about life and run around, frolic with the small animals, and everything's great. So we went in there, and I was talking to this guy. I said, "Look, I have PTSD. I have a very stressful life. Doctors have tried to give me medication for certain things. I haven't been diagnosed with PTSD, but look, I deal with it. And these psychiatrists, because I was under investigation for 7 years." I had to, go in every 3 months, have a full psych eval to see if I had any drug problems, alcohol problems, or anything like that. And I turned out having dependency on nicotine, I believe, and trouble adjusting to trauma. That was my diagnosis because they didn't want to say PTSD.
Addiction to nicotine.
Yeah, dependency on nicotine.
Oh, dependency. Got it.
Yeah, because I'm a smoker.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
Did you tell him no shit?
Yeah, seriously. That's kind of where I was going with that. Like, well, fucking smoke.
That's the thing. I always gave the psychoanalyst a hard time, and we joked back and forth and all that stuff. And he's like, "Man, you're a well-rounded person. You're not fantasy prone. You're this, you're that." And so I'm like, "No, dude, I need a check." People that come to you get a check. And dude, I'm talking about UFOs, little green men, and all kinds of crap, and I don't get a check. And he's like, "No, you don't get a check." I'm like, "This is bullshit. Where's your boss? I'm done talking to you." So I had a fantasy and I blew it, and so I'm gonna stay away from those. But
come on, Susie's dad left and she gets a check. How come I don't get a check?
Yeah.
It's total crap. If I'm a crazy person in the public eye, then I deserve a check. I mean, just ask the public. Just ask them.
I want the check. Give me the check.
It's like, don't take my word for it. Get on Facebook and see how crazy people think I am for what I talk about. But then I can get a check maybe. But we went into the dispensary, and it's not a medical. It's actually you can just walk off the street and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to the guy that seemed really smart because his tattoos, piercings, and his white coat convinced me of that.
Hell yeah.
He was like, "Dude, you totally need Luke Skywalker." And I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, "Okay, Luke Skywalker. All right." And he handed me this little black plastic tube, and I brought it home, and I sat on the front trellis, and I was looking at the, Vegas lights and everything, and I lit it and took a puff, and nothing happened. And I took another puff and I put it out. It was just, "Hey, I'll be careful," and all that stuff. The next thing you know, the people I were with, they were just gathered around me, Indian style, and listening to this philosophy, this stuff.
You're like mid-sentence.
Yeah, I'm so hidden. Everything about me is so hidden from people that I couldn't hide it at that point. So, like, people are sitting around listening to me like, "Oh my God." And I'm I'm like, I understand this philosophy is deep, but does anyone know where I can get some Oreos,
Yes.
Because simultaneously, the answers of the universe were important along with Oreos. And so I did. I killed the entire package, being a 148-pound man. and passed out on my bed contemplating the universe. And I'm guys, that was great, but I'll probably never do that crap again. I mean, my God,
dude,
God.
When you come to Austin, we gotta like do we gotta get high and talk crazy shit. We don't have to record it, but
we'll get some Oreos and make barbecue. No. How about that?
Yeah, okay, just audio, because I have no idea what I look like, but I postulated the idea and it doesn't look cool at all.
I'm pretty sure we would figure out the meaning and how the universe works if we all got stoned together.
Me and Ben are doctor scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was recorded in Vegas doing that, I'm pretty sure that what I had to say was intelligible to people that, have studied philosophy and deep thinking and all that stuff. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure both my eyes were looking at the wrong damn thing.
They were just closed the whole time.
Yeah. I'm sure it didn't look right, man. I'd have to have some practice to take well to it. But
oh man.
But yeah.
That's so great.
So speaking of I mean, I brought it up, but speaking of when you come to Austin, man, I really, what do you think about trying to either in the city where I live or out at Joe's, out towards the country, like seeing if we can call a craft? Like, is it something like if you're put on the spot or if the intention is wrong? Do you think, I mean, honestly, going into it, like, I'm just seeing what you would think, because I think it'd be really fun to go out and like UFO call or conjure or something.
Well, I mean, Dr. Greer says that, everybody could do this and all that. And, the science I've looked at and the life that I live, I can definitely say that only antennas have the ability to access that kind of thing. And it gets really hard to explain after that, because for one, you have this experiment of theirs, something of great interest, which is you, and they monitor that. And for one, you could maybe, I'm thinking for the right words for this, but maybe put yourself in a situation where you feel desolate, helpless, falling apart, something like that, and that's going to trigger a type of intervention. Or you could literally try to initiate contact, which is a little more difficult than what's put out there. But
right.
Either way, it can make it happen. I'm incredibly stupid when it comes to them, and I know that. But if I can, trigger a little bit, it'll work. I think
compared to the other intellectual, the other entities out there. Is that what you mean? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, you're literally. I mean, we tend to use concepts to look at this subject, and our own concepts can relate to this and that and everything else. And I think philosophy helps to kind of explain things using euphemisms and different ways of thinking, which is a great way to explore this subject. But when you're dealing with a 500 IQ, you're not only dealing with something that your 3-pound brain couldn't possibly understand, but you're also, trying to project ideas on things. Let's face it, guys. We call them alien for a reason.
Yeah.
There is no familiarity whatsoever when it comes to this, unless you've seen a movie on TV. And it's like, I know about aliens. I saw, a movie. But it goes deeper than that. It's the word itself, alien, should explain it all, but somehow it gets skewed.
Yeah, well, it's just it's so overused, like it's so common, like nowadays.
You said something there for a second. Me and Ben have talked about this before on the familiarity of it, and it dude. I mean, yeah, we totally agree. Like, we were saying that. How can something so foreign, so literally like out of this world, to us, when we think about it, like it kind of is familiar, in a strange way, but it's not. I don't know, because we were talking about how like we've been into this kind of stuff since we were kids, and why is it that such a random thing could seem so familiar. Like it's almost like you already knew it, or
Right.
you already like. I don't know, because I don't think we have antennas. You know what I'm saying? I don't
No
think.
way.
I don't think anything's ever happened to us. We've had experiences together. We've had experiences separate on like seeing stuff in the sky. But it is kind of strange how like this is such a weird out there thing. But there almost is like a small bit of familiarity to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why is because you become a part of that equation. Otherwise, it wouldn't be familiar at all. It's difficult to understand. There was a thing in the very beginning where I would literally be in the middle of cooking or watching Pixar films with the kids. Television was. God, PG-13 was so sexual, and kissing, and you don't want to sit next to your children and just, all of a sudden you got this love scene, and it's like, I don't want to have this conversation right now.
I'm going to go make some popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. So, I turned off cable, and I bought Pixar, and I fell in love with that stuff. I mean, the adult humor in it is great, and, I'm 41 years old, guys. I still watch that stuff, and it's so cool. It's funny, and I don't have a kid around for an excuse, but still love that stuff. But I would jump up right in the middle of doing any of that stuff, and I would immediately approach the door. And while I'm doing so, in my own mind, I'm like, why am I doing this? It was partially me, but not fully me. And it was that connection. And I would go to the door and I'd open it. I'd know exactly where to look, and it would be there. This is a very minute form of contact. It's just a connection. That's all it is. And over time, it becomes a lot stronger. Now, God, I'm at a loss of time, but I don't know if it was last Thursday or the Thursday before. I was talking to Christy. She had to go to work. I came in and sat down, had a couple tall beers, and you know what sets in? If you ever see somebody, come home from Iraq or Vietnam, they start drinking beers, and it's just a thing. I'm having a few beers, and you're alone. You start drinking more, your thoughts get deeper, and that PTSD really starts to kick in.
Yeah.
So, to any empath, a true empath, if they're around you, they're gonna feel your feelings,
right?
And it's going to bring them down immediately. They're going to accuse their feelings of being their own. They get confused about it.
Yeah.
And so, these guys upstairs, they can tap into that no problem. That is a part of their forte, part of their brain. They're very aware that they're non-local. They're very aware that their technology has that same type of substance, and it's not ridiculed in their society. We are so stupid. I mean, so stupid right now. Put it this way. Every single 100 years, we think we're at the top of our, game. We really do. And every 100 years, every 100 years, we're completely fooled. Like, the 80s were awesome, can't touch this, MC Hammer, all this stuff, that was the top of humanity. Now we've got touchscreen cell phones and laptops, and now we're at the top of the game again. I'm just rolling my eyes. We're not. We're growing up, guys. But these people pick up on that, and I'm laying there and I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm beat down. I don't like to show the public that that's a depressing thing, something I deal with in solidarity. But I leapt to my feet. I put my beer down, I opened up the door, and there it was.
Yeah.
And this poor guy in the lot next to me has got his flashlight out and his jaw on the floor, and he's kind of looking at it with his flashlight. And I'm wanting to wave my arms like, don't ever do that. You do not ever shine a flashlight at these things, because they will approach you. And it was, I don't know, maybe 30 feet off the ground, 35-degree angle in front of me. And I mean, it was right there in my face. So I took a picture. I sent it to you guys, to show you an up close and personal picture. But this is, just recently. And here I go. I mean, everywhere I moved, I've sent you guys some pictures and videos of, Las Vegas, Maine. It's not a little speck in the sky. It can be at times, but when it's in your yard, I'm not using a $800 God knows what camera with special features or anything. guys, this is a piece of crap cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't have money. I'm not rich. I cannot finance, any of that, And in the beginning, I had a 2013 Samsung touchscreen phone that cost $20 at Walmart that my kids got me, and we had an intervention because I'm terrible with technology, and I came home one day and they're sitting around the table. I'm like, oh my God, one of my daughters is pregnant, but it turned out to be a worst case scenario.
It's even worse. They're gonna make you learn technology.
Yeah, I had to get Facebook and everything, and they had it all set up. They had a little dating app on there because
Nice.
I raised them without a mom, so they were like, you need to date and meet women, and I'm like, on the internet? Are you freaking crazy?
Really swipe.
It's like real life is scary enough. They have a chance to lie more on the internet. But I never used the dating app or anything, but Facebook and everything like that. But yeah, that intervention, my flip phone had to die, and I had to learn how to use the camera and stuff like that. And so it was a real piece of crap. So Bob Kavanaugh in the CIA, when we met with the Allagash twins and Travis Walton, and what they feel was the strongest cases here in America, he was upset because he pulled out an 8x10 manila envelope with gun camera footage, and I pulled out my little piece of crap cell phone with a better picture. He was mad. He's like, we this is OSAP and ATIP and a phenomenology desk and the top of our class trying to chase these things down and get pictures, and you got a better picture than the Pentagon. And I'm like, yes.
Damn.
And I had to prove it to him because, your phone has that timestamp and date
Yeah.
Right.
and all that. And he's like, you got this off the internet. And I was like, I got this out in my backyard, so.
That would have pissed me off too if I was in his shoes. Like, dang it.
Yeah. You got to buy a $15 million plane with a $4 million camera.
Yeah.
Just to get a blurry thing, and
Could you
of
spend
course
$20 at Walmart?
Yeah, dude.
yeah. Yeah,
Why don't you
exactly.
meditate more? Maybe they'll come hang out with you, dude.
Seriously.
That's what I would have told him.
Yeah. Well, there's still a certain amount of fear, and I believe a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to my preconceptions about every aspect of life. So, I'm having to learn so many different ways of thought, feeling, emotion, and all those things because, I don't pretend to like really know. I've had interaction. I know a lot, but it's just too much. It's too big. There's too much intelligence there. And have you ever sat down and looked at your dog and say, okay, I know you want to know, so I'm going to tell you right now. There's this thing called money and these giant buildings that make only dog food. They're like 3 acres wide, and that's all they do for you. So I have to get into my car powered by gasoline, which is an explosive, and treacher myself out into the world where I take my green pieces of paper that I work really, really hard for to prove to those people that I'm worthy of buying your dog food.
Yeah.
And once they check my paper, they know I worked hard for you to have this dog food, and I was able to bring it home and open, and my dog, he just looks at me like, huh? But
Yes.
So when you're dealing with someone that is literally alien and so highly intelligent and understands how the universe works and all these things that we can't even throw a stick at right now, I couldn't possibly postulate myself saying, yeah, I got it figured out. I don't, it's,
Oh, yeah.
especially if I want to put something as ignorant as my opinion in that slot. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and shit, I'm always going to be scared and curious at the same time, which is a very interesting thing to have.
Yeah, well, I do. I appreciate that you don't speculate a lot, which like I only speculate. Like that's what it's so much fun for me to think like, what if it was like this, or I wonder if that's the reason why this. It's like it's kind of refreshing. Like every conversation we have with you, Eric, it's always like, this is what I can prove. This is what happened to me. This is what I felt. you never project like a anything like I think this is going on. I mean, it's awesome. It's a very refreshing thing. You don't hear a lot of contactees talk in that way. So anybody listening, like, I mean, listen back to this episode and the first interview we had with Eric explaining your whole story. If by the way, for those of you who don't know Eric's story and you're curious and you made it this far, we have this episode of talking with you, Eric, at UFO Con. If anybody,
in San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, and we're also, for those of you who don't know, we've mentioned it before, but we're actually helping Eric right now with a documentary. So if you want to hear a little piece of his story, you've heard some tonight, some stuff that he's been involved with. I mean, but if you want to hear the rest of it, definitely check out that San Francisco thing that we did on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome, and we're super excited, man.
Yeah,
Dude, I mean, like every time we talk to you, I know we just say thank you all the time, but like, yeah, I mean, thank you so much for being open to kind of working with us and just letting us help you out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we just,
the story needs to be heard, and I mean the perspective of, like you said it earlier, it's not for the intelligence community, it's not for people trying to make a buck off of trying to learn more about propulsion technology. It's for the experiencers and people that want to elevate their consciousness and really figure out like what the universe is all about, what's our human potential. That's kind of what I'm gathering, and that's how I feel.
Yeah, the fact that you want to help people is kind of what got us interested in the first place. It's like, the more people we talk to, it seems like the more people need help, and they almost don't get that help. And
no, they don't.
Yeah,
they really don't.
That's really what kind of drew me to this whole thing. And I mean, once again, I mean, thanks for letting us work with you, man. I mean, I think this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I've got a guy in the Philippines, and he contacted me. I don't have a website. I don't have a money-making mechanism or whatever to, make up for my time, lost time. I do it out of compassion. I do it because I suffered and still suffer the same thing, and it takes a lot to find me out. I'm not all over the place. I'm not on websites.
Yeah.
Organizations all over the world. There was an organization in the Philippines that told this guy, contact Eric Mitchell. I don't know who these people are. I have no idea, but he contacted me. He said, man, I need some help. I was washing dishes. This light just came through my window, and, my life's been hell ever since. And him not knowing the science and how all that works, and the whole internal process, which is very important. Okay, the external, that's entertaining and fascinating, but the internal, that process itself needs to be in the books of psychology. It needs to be, I'm working with psychologists right now. I mean, I've got 32 of them, but that internal process is exact match to every single person I've worked with. And now maybe 2% paranoid schizophrenia, which, I mean, that you find that out really quick, but they all have this quintessential internal thing that clicks inside of them. And in 5 minutes of conversation, I can tell you right off the bat, that's not boasting. It just means I do too much of what I do. And I can tell you right off the bat, the emotions that they go through, the things that they cannot articulate, and they find a way to, it's like internally, I don't care about your pictures. I don't care about your videos. I don't care about all your evidence. I want to talk to you. And once I do, I recognize the same emotional and mental process that I went through myself. So it's easily recognizable. And phonetically, over 3,000 clients behind me now, it's like, it's redundant. I already know when I pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So, the more you practice, the more you get better at it, just like anything else. And, but yeah, I mean, when you have a doctor or a surgeon that calls you up and says, I was out in my yard, I was playing with the kids. And the thing is, I don't know why it was bothering me so much. It was just a light. It was just a sphere. It was there for a few seconds and then it took off. Why is it destroying my life? I can't stop thinking about it. And I can't right away say that it interacted with you in a way that you're not fully capable of understanding. Kevin Day, like I said, I hate dropping names. He was on the USS Nimitz.
Right.
Guys we met with, I don't know if you guys met with him, but I met with him out And Lorian Fenton, I walk up and he walks up, and Lorian was like, "You know him, right?" And I was like, "No, I've never met him." And she goes, "Oh my God. Okay, Eric Mitchell, this is Kevin Day. You take your lily white butts and go outside."
I love Lorian so much. Dude.
Yeah, she's great. She didn't even ask me to do the conference. She told me I was going to. So
Yes.
she is. She's awesome. She's a powerhouse. But don't ever tell her I said that. I don't want her getting a big head. But we went outside and we talked, and he picked it up on radar, weather phenomenon. It could be this, it could be that. And he went outside. He said this thing was close enough to the ship where he could step outside and visually see it. And he did. He stepped out. There was like 20 people out there. He was standing there.
Wow.
And they all, to this day, they said, yeah, we saw it. But when you talk to Kevin, he is deeply emotionally affected. And I was like, he is the one that was affected by the electromagnetic field. The others only saw a light. That's the difference between someone that is a quintessential experiencer, a mind that can take on what they are capable of doing, versus, I saw it, but it never bothered me. So it's not just only bothering yourself with thinking that we're not alone in the universe. That could be a stumble. But to be affected on a level that we would call our own soul is indescribable. You can't even touch it with thought. And that's where a lot of experiencers get really confused. They're like, why is this just impeding always in my mind and my heart and my thoughts? It's because you have interacted with something, whether you know it or not. You could have been on the toilet thinking sidewalk, wacky pack, tire tool, eucalyptus tree. But at least, that message came across, and it's happening at a distance. Alexander Bell had the dubious distinction of standing on stage in front of a bunch of stockholders, and he's like, yeah, guys, all you have to do is hold a piece of plastic to your face and you can talk to China. That poor guy had a hard time. I mean, he had to have, right? I mean, back then people are like, oh, let me get this straight. You put a piece of plastic to your face and you can talk to China. This guy's on drugs. How about lunch? Because we're not funding him. We're not dealing with him. He had a really hard time.
Yeah.
But he was able to prove it, and that's what went on. And these are the times that we're dealing with right now. Is that we're dealing with quantum entanglement, and the electromagnetic field that your brain produces is the substance of all of the universe, and vibration, frequency, and consciousness is the one thing that creates everything to exist in the first place. And you knowing about that, or knowing existence is real, keeps it happening. And quantum physicists are really upset and really quiet about it because they don't want to look like Alexander Bell, but that's what's going on right now. We are communicating whether we know it or not. And there are viable people. You see, abductees or contactees in a family line. Grandfather had it and great grandkid Charlie had it, but the rest of the family didn't have it. And when you look at random nucleotide polymorphisms that build your DNA, and by the way, they communicate to each other, your DNA strands communicate to each other through an electromagnetic field in 7.38 hertz. So they create things within the DNA using sound. All by their lonesome. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're conscious. Your DNA is literally conscious. Have you ever had to sit there and a skin cell falls off your knee? Well, crap, I was going to go bowling and catch a movie, but now I have to sit here and concentrate on growing a new skin cell.
Yes.
Well,
I was going to go bowling.
Yeah, but what they're hiding in science is that there's a thing called a magnetite. It's a crystal, but it is magnetic as well. And it creates an electromagnetic bubble around your cell that is the same thing as consciousness itself. So inside this bubble, as above, so below, you have this electromagnetic field around the earth, you have an electromagnetic field around your cell, and so they can work independently, with their own consciousness to communicate. If you ever look under a really cool microscope, electron microscope, you're going to see all these little doodads communicating, and then they disperse and they create another cell. They get to work. They're hammering, they're sawing, they're doing all these things, and they communicate under this sphere of electromagnetic consciousness. So independently from your own thought process. They can do it on their own, so you don't have to do that. Same way as breathing.
Yeah.
You can concentrate on breathing, or you can forget about it, but it still happens. You don't have to, direct your thyroid gland to do what it has to do. It automatically knows what to do. It's not one of those conscious things, but it is a consciousness thing. So they work independently, so you can think about other things like bowling and going to a movie, but it's hidden in science. But here's the cool part. If you are a human being with these cells and you have this magnetite type of crystal rock in every cell in your body, which is completely really tiny, beyond imagination, what would happen if your cells were hit by this light made of consciousness? Could you vibrate them enough to be able to walk through walls? The science gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So these quote unquote so-called nutcases that say, I was floated through a window. Linda Corteel, guys, have you seen that case? I had breakfast with her once.
I haven't seen that case.
So, no.
Linda Corteel, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was great, but she was in the 6th floor of a high rise in the middle of New York, where there were limousines with top notch, people from the White House being escorted by police coming off the bridge, where she was floating out the window in a blue light. The window was closed, and when she woke up, she realized she was floating above all these people that were looking up. And she said to me, she goes, I could only think to cover up my hoo-hoo because I didn't wear underwear that night. So she was trying to push her nightgown in between her legs. So all these people that were, and all the people on the ground, they were like, we thought they were just filming a Hollywood movie. They didn't know. They didn't know it was a real thing, but it was out in the open.
Wow.
So
it
she
was
came
like
to
some
one of my
type of politician, right, that saw it. He was like a big deal. This sounds so familiar. Like there was a witness that saw it happen, and he was like in traffic or something, right?
Yeah, there was quite a few. There were police officers, politicians, all kinds of people on the street. I mean, it was just on the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, It's a highly populated area. And here's the craft just floating outside the window, and here she comes floating through a closed window.
Damn.
Trying to cover her private parts and getting sucked up right, in the bottom. So she went to one of my talks, and she invited me and my kids to breakfast, and we sat and ate, and she told us all about it. And of course we're cracking up and she's cracking up. But I mean, once you sit down and talk to these people, there's always skepticism. I like to have skepticism. I always like to have it until I hear my own self talk. And then I'm like, oh crap, I sound like a nut.
Yeah.
But long after I'm dead, I'm sure all this stuff is going to come out, and it won't matter, at that point. But
I have a feeling it's going to come a lot sooner than you think.
Yeah,
as long as we get this, if we get the story out, and we keep talking about it. I my hope is, but sorry,
I mean,
I interject there.
Oh man, but I'd slap my hand with every syllable, saying, "Please, everybody, God, this whole thing is this disclosure. It's going to make us all happy. The information is going to come out. The crash retrieval program, it's going to come out. I know it will, but it is going to be skewed in such a way for people to hate and want to go to war. And that these are the people that are skewing it. Instead of having peace, instead of being humbled, instead of using this information to enlighten people and make a better world and a better place with better technology and more sharing and love and all the cool stuff. Well, stuff I call cool, but other people would be like, love's not cool, brah. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But, but to skew its beauty and its wonder and its amazement and make it into a warmongering type of, we need our military to save us from these evil people. And that's the way it's going to be poured out. We're going to get our disclosure, but it's not going to be a very healthy or truthful one.
Yeah,
right.
I feel like we're ahead of that, though. I think for the most part, like our listeners, I mean, we don't have that many, but the people that listen to our show, we've talked about it enough. Like that specific idea that, like, hey, don't believe everything that's coming out on the news because there is a narrative now, especially because of TTSA. I mean, I think anybody that knows enough about it, scratches past the surface and finds out that, yeah, there is a narrative that they're subscribing to and trying to push it on the people. And this has been like a known thing for a really long time that, Joe, help me out. Who said that there was like 5 things that were gonna happen?
Werner von Braun.
It was like one was
he was talking about basically like how they would usher in
New World
Order with first you're gonna fight the fight the communists, and then you're gonna have to fight terrorists, and then you're gonna fight the third world nuts, and one of the last things will be the false invasion.
Yeah, he was absolutely correct. I mean, the plan might have been skewed and tweaked a little bit because expectations and time and our culture and everything like that, things need to be tweaked. During an old social engineering into a new social engineering, it had to change over time, just like anything. I mean, we don't listen to 50s music anymore, but we still listen to. Well, yeah,
Little Richard is king, baby. Little Richard is king. You heard it here on UFO Garage Podcast.
That's right. But they had to tweak it, to change with the times. You know how the Italians say. Yeah. So, it's coming out in this way, and I'm not supposed to say this. I'm going to go ahead and go, back to Joseph Firmage, the guy that invented websites and all that stuff. Had the UFO experience and spent, over 20-something years trying to develop, how this thing works. And he is a CIA contractor. He's not involved with the evil whatever. He just when they're not smart enough to figure something out, and let me spell it out, Central Intelligence Agency. They call him. That's how smart this guy is, and I've spent a lot of time on the phone with him, and he is. I mean, I wish that he and I can have a conversation on like your show or something like that just prove what kind of science comes out of him.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. If you Google him, you're going to see a lot of flack, a couple DWIs and stuff like that. Look, if you had a close encounter with this thing and it changed your mind, your life, your soul, and everything that ever meant to you, and you have to walk away from a $3 billion business and lose everything, you might drink a little. You
absolutely.
Give the guy a few screw ups, all right? But he put together a sociological, psychological, methodical towards religion, and especially energy and propulsion and all these things that could, if overnight done and achieved, would destroy everything, and we'd have famine and lose everything. I mean, you can't introduce this stuff overnight. You have to drip feed it. He understood that, being the genius that he was. If we had free energy tomorrow, the oil companies would bankrupt, the stock market would just be out of control, and it would ruin lives. So, being the thinker that he is, he sat down and wrote some emails. I sent you guys one of the emails where he was talking about the dimensions of contact.
That was cool.
No, guys, let me pull that full circle. His company is called, oh my gosh, brain farting because of the heat.
Internasa, International Academy of Science and Arts.
Now that sounds a lot like To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science.
That sounds a lot like To the Farts Academy of Arts and Science.
Yeah, but you guys didn't steal anything from Joe,
Right.
But these guys in the CIA, the phenomenology desk, and the aviary stole the whole working model from Joe and his connections to the New York Times to get this information out.
Wow.
They also tried to steal the technology so they could build this big model ship that they keep posting. Okay, they don't have the technology. They have no clue about any of that technology.
Yeah.
And Hal Puthoff completely lied about that crap. The whole thing was stole from Joseph Firmage. It was made to believe, even by Tom DeLonge, was made to believe it was his idea. They made him believe it was his idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he totally bought into it. I heard recently through a couple of contacts that he did find out he was a patsy and a talking head. Depressed for 3 days, got up and kept going. Says, I'm going to keep doing this. That's fine. I can respect that. But this military takeover of an experiencer's good willing decent approach to disclosure is exactly, an explanation of itself. I mean, they took it out of earnest. It was an honest opinion on how to do this on planet Earth and change everybody in a way that they're supposed to anyway. It's been robbed, from us from birth. But to switch us over into understanding that we're not alone, do it comfortably, and implement the technologies. And the military and the CIA took it over and said, we're going to use this for our own, and we're going to target, a rock star that has young voters in his pocket.
Yeah.
So,
for some reason, it just always comes back to politics, doesn't it?
Well, of course, that's control and power. That's narcissism. It's the nastiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Even on a personal level, I've dated a narcissist. I've, had so-called friends that were, and, ripped me off of information, money, and all kinds of stuff. And then they turn around and attack you like you did something wrong. And it's like, wow. And it's like, that's Eric's fault. I'm acting like a lunatic. And it's like, oh, okay. I'm going to go eat a Tic. After smelling your breath, after doing that, I'm going to go eat a Tic Tac. My God. Man. Go make a name for yourself and make sure you can trash me as much as possible. And it's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. And it will skew people from the information I have, and that's a terrible thing. If you attack me, saying I did this wrong or that wrong, or hey, look, I inhaled pot, I got a parking ticket, 2009. I mean, I could talk about stuff I've done. Go ahead. I mean, attack me, but look what you're doing to the people that really need the information out there. Yeah. It's, and that's a big sickness when it comes to the subject. Is Jan Harzan.
Oh,
he's like the top echelon worldwide of UFO.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah.
That's like a recent thing. I don't know. People listening probably don't even know about this.
Yeah, I mean, Stan Romanek, they did a story about him on Netflix where he was a child porn fanatic. And
right.
I happen to know through some sources, my friend Holly rented a room from those guys. She was trying to get away from a bad relationship, $450 a month, rented a room, spent a lot of time with them. He's like at least 50% legit, if anything else, you know, and I know that personally. But all of a sudden there's child porn on his computer and investigators somehow know about it. I'm like, what?
Yeah. That was
most people, they hear child porn, they're like, he's guilty,
right. I mean, it's so disgusting. Like your brain automatically thinks like that person's guilty. And so just playing devil's advocate. I mean,
we had this conversation.
We did, yeah. We actually talked about this recently, Eric. Like even the Netflix special about him. What's it called? So people
Extraordinary.
The Stan Romanek story. Yeah, I mean, there was the way that the documentary was shot. It did go into the kind of the history of his computer being fucked with, like for a long time, like files showing up, files being deleted. I mean, he had it all on video. Like just his computer was being controlled. Like it's pretty weird. Yeah. So who knows? I don't like to take sides, but I mean, just my gut feeling, and I mean, this has no basis, but there's something fishy going on with that whole thing.
Yeah, I do too. First and foremost, I'd say publicly, and I'd say this in front of Jan, and I have before, I do not like Jan Harzan. We've butted heads. We've had some run-ins. In the very beginning, I didn't know who he was, but he called me at home and says, "We need your information." And I'm like, "Why? It doesn't belong to you. Who are you?" I didn't know what MUFON was, but he was jumping up and down and just really getting on me. And I'm like, "Guy, bye. I'm not talking to you. I don't know who you are."
Good.
And and years later, I had this beautiful girlfriend on my arm with a British accent, and he comes up to me and he's like, "I really want to talk to you about your case. I think it's important." And he's just coming at me like just some kind of over-caffeinated,
like a fiend.
Calm the hell down, because I can feel that internally type of stuff, And the moment he saw my girlfriend, he wasn't interested in my case, and it creeped her out really bad, and she asked to leave. She felt uncomfortable. But not to say that would implement him into some kind of creepo that would take advantage of a child.
Yeah.
But, some guys just really want to overcompensate for their shortcomings, and that's all they think about. And I find that, highly unenlightened and disgusting, but it's an egotistical thing that hopefully, work that out about yourself and find out that there's flowers to sniff and other things to enjoy in life. But
yeah, man, I mean, I think there's, like when we're talking about Jan and the fact that he actually like went to go meet up with a 13-year-old. The cops caught him. Like that's fuck, dude. Like, fuck you. Like, sorry, dude. Like, no sympathy on my end. But then when you talk about Stan Romanek and then the fact that like he was like, I'm not gonna play ball with you guys anymore, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, all this shit came up on your computer. Here you go, Stan. Like, that case seems a little fishy to me.
Yeah.
The Jan one does not. It's like, dude, you fucking did that to yourself, bro. And from what I hear, I've never met the guy personally, but he wasn't exactly like a pleasure to be around, or like, I mean, he kind of,
bad vibe.
Honestly, good riddance, I guess, So
yeah, definitely a bad vibe to me. And I try to be as fair as possible in my thoughts, and for detectives to literally target him, they'd had to have a reason. Number one, he's been doing this already online. Number two, he's the head of MUFON and he needs to shut up. So, man, I'd like to say that he's a creep and all that. I mean, you can see where I'm kind of torn. I give people the benefit of the doubt, and it gives me nothing but grief in life. But I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't like the guy, and that's a personal feeling of mine. But why? I'd like to know why he was targeted in the first place to be solicited by a child.
Yeah.
The fact that he got in his car and went there.
That's pretty bad.
That's definitely, gross as hell. I mean, that's sick. But to be targeted to do so, who the hell knew it in the first place, and why were they doing it? You become a public figure, and you learn real quick that everybody's out to hurt you.
Yeah.
And they will lie. There's a rumor going on out there that I beat my wife every day. I get drunk and beat my wife every day. Have you guys met my wife?
Nope.
No.
No, because I'm not married.
Because you're not married, yeah. That's what I was like, wait, I thought you had a girlfriend? No.
Yeah, so it's like, and thank God people come up to me and confront me with that stuff instead of just living with what they heard. They're like, dude, you drink every day and you beat your wife? And I'm like, absolutely. Now, what are we talking about here? I'm like, I have a wife and so even, you go publicly a little bit and you kind of understand the other side of that thing where people make up rumors, they make up stuff. Look, I have flaws. Can you let me talk about them instead of somebody else I've never met and just makes this stuff up? And then you have that rumor game where you start saying a rumor and you pass it into one person's ear. And by the time it gets around the room, it becomes something completely different. So, thankfully, there's not a whole lot of crap on me, but that one gets me. Yeah. I get drunk and beat my wife up Dude, I've been divorced for 10 years.
Yeah.
I adopted 3 children and had one of my own and raised them by myself. It's like, do I feel like beating her now? Maybe a little. I don't think I can physically do it, but I can look at her that way, right?
Right.
Not one child support payment. They weren't my blood. I did it out of my own heart because I love them. So yes, I'm definitely a bad person.
Man,
obviously,
the worst,
right?
The worst.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's always funny that people know more about you than you do sometimes, That's just part of the game, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, man, again, this kind of like, I'm not trying to sell the documentary, but I just, I even just forget that we're on a podcast just talking with you. I think that's I want to show people like who you are. You know, like people always hear. You can listen to UFO stories all day. Yeah, it's fun and entertaining, but I really want to just show that you're a normal dude that some really crazy shit happened to, and you're not alone. You're not the only one. There's many people out there that are experiencing very similar things, and that's the whole message of the documentary. It's not just to like, hey, check out this fucking crazy UFO story. It's way more than that. Help. When I'm like explaining
it's way more than that. You know, the information that we have, if we put this on screen for people to watch, they are going to learn things that they would never learn from ufology. Never in their wildest dreams. And the most important people to hear this information are people that have had any type of experience, and this comes across their TV screen, and it's going to jolt them in a place where there's recognition involved on a deep soul level, and they are going to be touched by it. And we want that to happen. The big elephant in the room needs to go away, and we need to have this conversation. I mean, that's basically it. Oh, by the way, turtle porn, I have that on my computer.
For those,
as long as we're being brutally honest, a friend of mine, he sent me turtles mating, and
is it the one where they make the funny noise where it's like,
like Elmo? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely, I've seen it.
No, I don't know, guys. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I found it incredible. Yeah, you got it down pat. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I found it hilarious, and I apologize. But
we've all got turtle porn on our devices. If that's what we're getting in trouble for it.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going down, man. We're all going down.
Man.
And I can see the headline now. Eric Mitchell, he was busted. So
we should add that in the documentary.
Yeah, we should.
Guilty pleasures of Eric Mitchell.
Yeah, exactly.
Chapter 11. Oh man, that's awesome, dude. That is so awesome.
We can't put that in the documentary. There'd be so many indictments put out.
It would.
People are going to be interviewing turtles for the next year. Turtles are going to be coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
Claiming all kinds of claims.
Yeah.
So, but yes, dude.
I'm even sick enough where I saw one mounting a Nike shoe on YouTube, and I boasted out loud. I was like, "Just do it," So, if that makes me a bad person, then okay.
Dude.
But yeah, rumors will fly, and people will come up with stuff, and that's the thing. These people in the popularity game that have to have attention, have to have book sales, they have to, be the top of the echelon, have no idea that everyone they're pushing down are the people of the truth. So it becomes a really, really unbelievable scenario of a very, very small handful of people that have to pay bills. They have to utilize their own career to pay bills, and in doing so, they're stopping the truth from coming out, and they're not even thinking that way. They think they're actually contributing everything they can to the truth about the subject.
Right.
But they're literally anything that takes the limelight away from them, they're not going to have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it's a toxic thing, but it's human. I feel like. I mean, there's a reason why so many people kind of fall into that trap.
If I've already learned it. If you don't go through a top ufologist, you're not the real thing. And so I kind of bypassed that. I'm like, that's a nice sandbox, and I know you're pulling each other's hair, and it's a nice day at the park, but I'm going to go on the swings. I'm just not.
Yeah.
And, they had promises I was going to be rich and famous and this and that. And just, no. I'm not. I'm sorry. I've had Netflix tell me that too. You're going to have a lot of money. You're going to be rich and famous. And I'm like, I got to talk to the guys, at UFO Garage, because, we know how to get information out without embellishment and BS and all that stuff. And I've had people they could contact me. They're like, "Oh my God, I found out you're finally going to get your case in the public." And I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm happy about that." And they're like, "I don't even know about this production company. Who are they? Are you watching your back?" And I'm like, "Nope, that's who I picked. That's it." Because
yeah, I appreciate you standing up. I mean, I was paying attention to that comment thing where there was, I mean, I won't say any names, but yeah, it was kind of cool, like being reinforced. Like, yeah, we're not like professionals, but we are definitely going to be hiring some videographers. But I mean, as far as like managing this whole thing, I mean, that's why we even started this, is from the get-go, because we all three vibed, and like, dude, let's just get this freaking story out there, man.
The honesty, man.
Yeah. And you know what? As long as we're being completely honest, Netflix was talking about $15 million.
But they wanted to buy your story, though. So, like, the rights to the story, right?
Yeah. And they were going to make a major motion picture. There was a lot of fighting involved for over a year and all that stuff about what they wanted to do and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I look, guys, I told them this stuff. Now, if I got some made up bullshit story that I want to narcissistically get attention from people and make a lot of money from, that was my shot.
Yeah.
Sorry. $15 million is a lot of money.
Wow.
And guess what? I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not rich. I don't make a lot of money. I'm a chef. I pay my bills and struggle by. Sometimes I got to get in the, change cup to buy a pack of cigarettes or a gallon of gas. I live without means. And, to have all that fame and money and, hey, look, it's been on my lap several times. Netflix was just the biggest one.
Yeah.
What do I have to gain from me working with you guys? What I have to gain is, first of all, I'm empathic. You guys are awesome. You've got the, just get the information out, and that's what we need to do. And I'm like, really? Where have you guys been? Because they're like, other people are like, yeah, we're going to do all kinds of great stuff. And in the end, we're going to get you right from behind, And, it's all crap. I just got scared to death one day when my investigator turned to me. We were drinking a nice bourbon, and he said, if anything happened to you or me, this information will never get out. And that was scarier than me dying. It was scarier than me actually dying, that I would die and no one would ever know what happened.
Yeah.
That scares the shit out of me, and I can't deal with that. And people need to know, look, it happened to me. If cancer was like, I don't know, against the facade, if it was against social engineering and social conditioning, and it was just a made up thing, the media is telling you, no, cancer's made up. Don't feel sorry for these people. But you're married to a cancer patient, and you watch them lose weight. You watch them slowly die. You'd get pretty pissed over the whole thing. And that's what's happening here, that there's lives that are being ruined, but they're liars. They're supposed to be liars, and these people suffer so badly, and I'm intimate with them. There's ufologists that are like, how do you get them to open up? And it's like, I'm not telling you, because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to do it. And what you're going to do with that information is going to be harmful to them and yourself and the entire subject. So let the real be real and hang out in your own garden, because it's not going to work for you. This robe is not going to fit, because the map of ufology is not exactly correct, and thank you guys for trying. There are some wonderful people in ufology, but the bad eggs kind of stink up the whole room,
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
You got so much, you got to wear a mask to filter out all that egg smell,
Well, dude, I'm we're about to have to hop on a meeting with somebody who's gonna actually, we're talking to tonight, who's gonna maybe help us out with this documentary a little bit.
Videography, and someone who knows what they're doing with a camera.
So, man, we're gonna have to say goodbye here in a second, but I definitely want to end this on a good note, man. Guys, if you don't know who Eric Mitchell is, like I said, check out his story. You can find it on our YouTube page. Man, he's a great guy, and this is to help help people, man. I'm so excited to like be able to work with Eric and be able to, help him help all of these people, man.
Yeah.
Like that's the bottom line with this whole deal is, I'm so excited about everything that's happening.
Yeah. There's so many different layers that we can, I don't know. It just feels right. Something about it. Like, I love this. The reason why we started this podcast is because we love this subject, but it just kind of like hit a whole new level when we met you, Eric, and heard your story and wanted to be a part of this project. I mean, there's people that contact us from listening to podcasts, tell us stories. Like, man, if we're getting emails, like, just imagine like how often this happens to the normal person. Like, this is a very real thing. And man, I feel like just having you lead the story with your own experiences and your advice and like all the stuff that oh man, I'm excited to be a part of this.
No, we're literally going to help millions of people while having fun. And if nobody has any objections, I think we should game on this stuff and get it done, because we can have a good time. We can joke around, bump elbows, get these cameras out, and really get to the meat and potatoes, the core of this whole thing, the whole thing that's being denied about the internal process of the quintessential experiencer that's never been allowed to speak. And it's 2020. We should have flying cars, not flying mouths. And, we're going to get there. I have the tools, I have the information, and I have the resources. And right now, I've got over 3,000 clients that are ready to say, let's do this, and that's a lot. That's a lot of people. And not to mention, other, military and, good patriot resources on the inside of sociopathic circle of hell. But, throw a pebble in the water and watch how far it can ripple. And I think we're going to drop some bricks when we do this, because that's great. I don't know, video evidence, picture evidence, or we still have to get witness statements from a lot of people from all over the United States that have seen this around me. So we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to have fun doing a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And each and every time we're going to verify everything that's happened. And we're going to dig deep and get people at home that are too afraid to give us a call in the first place. And we're going to reach them that way. And it's going to advocate their feelings, and they're not alone. And they're going to hear for the first time externally what happens on the internal part to advocate their lives and make them feel better. So it's not only them not being able to reach out and get help, it's them being able to verify themselves as a damn human being that belongs, and they're not a crazy person, and they can be a better father, a better mother, a better spouse and an employee, and so many other things just from having that type of release. And it's magic. It goes a long way. And to do that to a million people in one night, guys, we couldn't sit around and look at each other and fathom that kind of possibility, but we can fathom doing it. And I am incredibly happy that you guys came into my life to where we can make it happen.
Hell yeah, brother.
Awesome, man. That's great.
That's a great place to end it, man. You're so poetic, Eric. I love it, dude. You love it. I love it. We're gonna have to do some sound bites when you come and get some of that gold on
definitely
good audio recording.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, yes, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up.
Thank you
for our 50th episode, man. I didn't even think about the fact it was our 50th this whole time, man. We just love talking to you. And we're going through all the stuff that you sent us. I went through pretty much most of it last night.
It's awesome,
and it's pretty great, man. I love all the stuff. So we're gonna we'll keep in contact with you this week, and we'll do a little more chit chat. And that sound good, man?
Yeah, we've got a lot to do, and I'm available anytime I'm free, so we can put this thing together. I mean, a lot of things that you'll look at, I think it was 12 gigabytes, but could be like, what is this about? I don't get it. But everything in there has a story behind it, and there's a lot more to send to you guys. I just don't want you to be overwhelmed. So
yeah, no worries, man.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton, and it's going to be helpful to people that don't have a voice. Unfortunately, I have one, so I'm gonna have to deal with this. But you guys have an awesome night, man. Thanks for having me on. Anytime I can, I definitely will. Just don't tell the other stations because they think they're bigger than you, and they're wrong.
Man,
Awesome,
thank you
man.
so much, brother. Great to talk to you, man.
All right,
All
brother.
right, man.
We'll talk to you
Guys,
later,
have
man.
a great night.
All right.
Take care.
All right,
All right,
bye.
bye-bye.
Peace.
Well, sick, dude.
Sick.
I love it, man.
Woo!
I love that man.
I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
I know.
He was
Dude,
cracking me
he's
up.
so goddamn funny.
It's so funny, dude.
Oh, I love it, dude.
man.
I love it, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Episode 50,
I
man.
mean, but we've been doing a lot of celebrating lately. We did our year podcast,
Yep.
and now it's our 50.
Yep.
Man.
And then
We need 50 more, and then we can get our tattoo, right?
Yep.
At episode 100, you said.
Hey, so if you guys are interested in that, we were thinking maybe episode 100, me and Ben get UFO Garage tattoos and do a live episode while we're getting the tattoos.
Yes.
So if y'all are interested in that, yeah, let me know. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your friends about the documentary that we're working on. Tell everybody, because we're
Tell your dog.
Tell your dog, man, because we love hanging out with y'all. We love being able to do the show for you guys, and man, it's just a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
And we got a lot more. We have so many new members in the Facebook group. Yeah, just go to UFO Garage Facebook group. Check it out, y'all. Like, man, it's been really cool seeing all the new faces like coming in. It's like saying hi, and it makes us feel like there's actually people listening to the show.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So, yeah, don't forget to check out Phoenix Shaving, phoenixshaving.com. They've got all your soap and shaving needs. They got great stuff. They got, T-shirts and
Smell good.
aftershaves and even stuff for your ladies.
Ball
so,
cream.
yeah, check that out. And we're also going to be here pretty soon doing a little affiliate thing with a CBD company. So if you guys are into that too, y'all can check that out. That'll be up pretty soon. I just got text messages during this show about all that stuff. So
Nice.
that's going to be cool too. Unfortunately, guys, Abduction 51 is no longer a company. I think the Coronas probably hurt business as it's been hurting a lot of people's businesses. That's the way the cookie crumbles, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Sorry to see them go, but
I know, man. I know. A good thing I got some shirts from them
yeah.
because they had some cool stuff, man. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. And you got anything else, man?
I'm good, brother.
Me too. This was another episode of UFO Garage. Talk to you next time. Peace.